Thousands across Brazil demand President Bolsonaro's impeachment. Libya's warring sides agreed to start a candidacy process for creating key institutional posts. And 11 of 21 trapped Chinese miners have been rescued. Hello and welcome to TeleSUR. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez from Quito, Ecuador, and this is From the South. We start in Brazil, where hundreds of people have driven through Rio de Janeiro to demand the impeachment of President Jair Bolsonaro over his handling of the coronavirus pandemic. Protesters blame President Jair Bolsonaro for the resurgence in cases that seen the death toll surpass 400,000, the second highest in the world. People are also accusing the federal government of mismanagement in the import and distribution of vaccines and are condemning them for the oxygen crisis that has affected patients' treatment in the Amazonian capital city of Manaus. Similar protests took place in several major cities across the country.
There was no oxygen. Patients had to receive morphine to not feel losing their breath, but there was no shortage of chloroquine. That's why we are here today, a movement of political renovation, on a united front, with people that think differently, demanding the impeachment of Jair Bolsonaro.
The country is saying that with Bolsonaro we can't have health or vaccines. Only by getting Bolsonaro out of the government will we be able to ask for basic things.
Brazil received 2 million doses of the AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine from India on Friday. The jab was developed by AstraZeneca and the University of Oxford. It was flown to Rio de Janeiro, where the state-run Fiocruz Institute is based. Fiocruz has an agreement to produce and distribute the vaccine. However, experts have warned that the shipment will do little to tackle an insufficient supply in the nation of 210 million people. This is contrary to a recent statement by President Jair Bolsonaro, who said that there will be enough vaccines for a proper immunization campaign.
These 2 million doses are just the beginning. It's only the beginning of the process. We are negotiating more doses in early February, and the active pharmaceutical ingredient needed for Fiocruz to start producing up to 15 million doses per month. These imported doses are to start the process, but the national production with the Fiocruz in Bhutan, and probably in a private company for the production of the Sputnik vaccine, which is being negotiated, which allows to have mass production.
Uruguay has struck a deal for Pfizer and Sinovac vaccines, according to President Luis Lacalle Pou. The president added that the negotiations with other vaccine makers are also underway. Uruguay has been one of the least affected by the coronavirus in Latin America, registering about 36,000 cases and 364 deaths in total since the beginning of the pandemic.
The agreement with Pfizer-BioNTech and Sinovac consists of 2 million doses from the first laboratory and 1,750,000 doses from the second. The arrival of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines should be around March, but we are not ruling out the possibility that it could be around the end of February. The same goes for the Sinovac vaccine. We are still negotiating with 3 other laboratories and hope to have news soon. The government's aspiration is to have vaccines for 2.8 million people.
The Colombian capital, Bogota, has re-entered a full lockdown this weekend for a third time in a row. This means that all non-essential shops are closed from Friday at 8 p.m. until Monday at 4 a.m. The restrictions include a ban on alcohol sales in supermarkets and stores during the same hours as well. Colombia has suffered a total of 50,000 deaths from COVID-19 since the pandemic began, with a recent increase in cases putting hospitals under severe strain. The University of West Indies is investigating reports of the production of fake undergraduate and postgraduate degrees, which appear to be issued by the institution. The scheme is reportedly taking place in Jamaica, where the Mona campus is located. In light of the development, the university assured that all of its certificates have security features which helped to guarantee authenticity. Furthermore, it urged employers and other educational facilities that have concerns about the legitimacy of the documents to contact the examination section for verification or report the matter to the fraud squad of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Trinidad and Tobago, both sides of the political divide, are mourning the death of a former government minister who passed away on Friday. Clifton Dikoto, who served as an educator for many years, collapsed on the floor outside his home after completing his daily routine of reading a newspaper. Dikoto was a former minister of the National Diversity and Social Integration, Gender, Youth and Child Development. He had been battling health issues since 2013. More stories coming up, don't go away.
This February 7th, the people of Ecuador come to the polls in a new presidential election. Amid the health crisis over COVID-19 and a political scenario of uncertainty, TeleSUR accompanies voters in these new elections that are decisive for the country. Follow all the incidents of this electoral process through our website and social networks. Ecuador Decides 2021. Only on TeleSUR.
Welcome back. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has said that his government is willing to turn a new page in its relations with the United States based on dialogue and mutual respect.
I have already stated that the Bolivarian government and the Bolivarian forces, who have political power in Venezuela, in a democratic and constitutional way, are willing to walk a new path of relations with the Joe Biden government on the basis of mutual respect, dialogue, communication, and understanding on issues of mutual interest. 2 years ago, we reacted to Trump's coup interventionism. Today we say, Venezuela, this 21st century Bolivarian and revolutionary Venezuela is ready to turn the page and build new paths of respect, dialogue, and diplomatic communication with the new U.S. government.
Ecuador is preparing to hold general elections in early February, and our correspondent in Quito, Denise Herrera, brings us a profile of one of the presidential candidates.
Indigenous leader and environmental activist Yaku Sacha Perez Guatambo was born on February 26, 1969, in Ataki parish of Cuenca Cantón. His name was Carlos until 2018, when he decided to change it to one that represented his personal struggle. Yaku, meaning water, and Sacha, meaning jungle. Among his campaign proposals are the renegotiation of oil contracts, a popular consultation to declare Ecuador free of extractive exploitation, the return of large-scale mining to the state, and constitutional reform, among others.
The human right to water must be protected, and in my government we will call for a popular consultation so that you will be the ones to decide at the ballot box about the exploitation of mining and water resources. Your decision is fundamental.
Yaku graduated as a lawyer, although his degree is not registered with the National Secretariat of Higher Education. What is registered are the 4 postgraduate degrees in watershed management, environmental law, indigenous justice, and criminal law. In the public sphere, Yaku was president of Equarunari, the Confederation of Peoples of Quechua nationality, from 2013 to 2019, and prefect of Asua province between 2019 and 2020, a post he left due to his candidacy for the presidency.
We have clean hands. We don't owe anything to any bank, or to corruption, or to drug trafficking. We owe everything to the people.
Yaku became one of the biggest opponents of former President Rafael Correa and was detained several times. In the 2017 elections, he declared that a banker is preferable to a dictatorship. He defines himself as close to a flexible, open left, and has also said he does not believe in capitalism or socialism or communism, but in communitarianism. His candidacy is one of several representing the indigenous movement.
Denise Herrera, TeleSUR, Quito, Ecuador.
Libya's warring factions have agreed to start a candidacy process for creating key institutional appointments after a new round of talks in Morocco on ending nearly a decade of conflict. The process is set to run until February 2, aims to quickly fill several strategic posts in order to facilitate collaboration with an interim executive body to be selected next week in Geneva. The positions will include the heads of the Central Bank, Electoral Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, Supreme Court, and Administrative Control Authority, as well as the Attorney General. The parties are also agreed to form working groups to deal with the candidacy process for the posts, which have long been points of contention between the rival administrations.
The teams from the House of Representatives and the state met for 2 days on January 22, 23, 2021 in Bosnica, on the outskirts of the capital Rabat. During this meeting, it was reviewed what had been previously approved in Article 15 of the Libyan Political Agreement, signed in Skhirat on December 17, 2015. After a constructive dialogue, it was agreed to form and appoint sub-working groups to take procedural measures concerning the appointments of the following sovereign posts.
Hundreds of demonstrators have taken to the streets of Tunisian cities to protest police repression, corruption, and poverty. This follows several nights of unrest marked by clashes and arrests. Saturday's protest, known as the North African nation, struggles to stem the coronavirus pandemic, which has crippled the economy and threatened to overwhelm hospitals. The government on Saturday extended a nighttime curfew from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. and banned gatherings until February 14.
Because 10 years ago, there was the greatest theft of the revolution from the Tunisians and their demands committed by the Islamists.
We want to build a new consciousness, not the one they are financing through TV channels. We won't allow that anymore. It is over. We are fed up with it. We can't take it anymore. Basta.
Malawi has appealed for help from the United Nations and other international organizations to combat COVID-19 as cases continue increasing. The government has already declared a state of national disaster in all districts after the country lost 2 cabinet ministers on the same day due to COVID-19. New confirmed cases have risen by 163% and deaths by 135% for the month of January alone. Security forces have been deployed in several cities to enforce measures to reduce the spread of the virus. Tropical storm Eloise has developed into a cyclone and has made landfall in the Mozambican port city of Beira, leaving a trail of destruction along its path. Eloise dumped more than 300 millimeters of rain in just 36 hours, causing widespread flooding in the region that was hit hard by Cyclone Idai in 2019. The government on Thursday placed rescue teams on high alert and urged citizens living in flood-prone areas to evacuate. Cyclone Idai killed more than 1,000 people across Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe 2 years ago. And the coronavirus pandemic has forced Jordanian children into labor market. With economic fallout and schools closed for nearly a year due to COVID-19, experts are seeing a rise in minors working to help feed their families. The UN Children's Agency UNICEF said it believed many Jordanian children have been forced into precarious work since the pandemic began, despite being forbidden to employ those under 16. Some 76,000 children were already working in the country, according to the last official count published in 2016.
Since COVID-19 began, the schools are shut. So Jordanian and Syrian children are coming to us. They come to make some money. Shop owners only load the carts of children, not the ones of adults. The children are the only ones who work at the market.
I don't want the corona pandemic to affect my studies, as I want to finish them to become a pilot and make my dream come true.
We're taking one last break. More news in a minute.
Innovation, science, the technological breakthrough, and its influence in society.
Viajeros del saber, el futuro está aquí.
Atomen. Monday, only on TeleSUR.
Welcome back. 11 of 21 Chinese miners who were trapped underground for 2 weeks have been rescued. Rescue workers pulled the first group of the miners from hundreds of meters underground as the race to locate the remaining 10 intensifies. Special teams have been battling difficult conditions since an explosion at the Hushan mine in Shandong province trapped the miners and embracing waters on January 10. The explosion occurred in a ventilator shaft, causing a blockage that damaged the cable car. China has kicked off a campaign in Beijing to test 2 million people in 48 hours as officials in the capital rush to track down a new local cluster of coronavirus cases. Long queues snaked through Beijing, which reported 19 coronavirus infections in the past week as the mass testing campaign got underway in Dongcheng and Xicheng districts. Officials have said that some of the cases detected in Beijing are linked to a variant of the deadly pathogen that was first found in the UK and is believed to be more transmittable. Hong Kong authorities have said that a temporary lockdown in one part of the city will begin to be eased after mandatory testing for COVID-19 among the residents. Officials said an area containing 16 buildings in the city Yong Sing Mong district will be locked down until all residents were tested. However, those with negative results will be able to leave and enter in from Sunday evening.
Many people have done the test today. We have given consideration to the present situation that most of the people have taken the test. So after 6 p.m. today, we'll allow those with wristbands who have taken the test, as long as the result is negative, to enter and exit the area at designated entrances.
If there is such a need, obviously we do not rule out any future operations like this. But we would also like to say that currently the issuance of the compulsory testing notice is also an effective method in identifying the cases.
Portugal have voted in a presidential election despite the country's pandemic lockdown. The center-right incumbent candidate Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa is strongly favored to earn a second 5-year term as devastating COVID-19 surge grips the country. Polls give de Sousa 58% of the first round of vote, far ahead of socialist challenger Ana Gomez and far-right populist André Ventura on 15 and 10% each. The head of the state in Portugal has no legislative powers, but has the authority to dissolve parliament and call fresh elections, a pivotal constitutional role with a minority government in power.
Regardless of the pandemic, period, One needs to vote regardless of the pandemic, or rather one should vote especially because of the pandemic. That's it.
We must keep the rules so that democracy doesn't fail. Unity is very important at a time like this. No matter if you are from the left, from the right, unity is more important than peace. We all need peace because it is very serious what we are facing.
The New Zealand Ministry of Health has confirmed on Sunday it is investigating a positive test result in a person who has departed from a managed isolation facility. The country has reported 2,283 coronavirus cases and 25 deaths since the start of the pandemic.
This morning we received information from the Ministry of Health about a person in the community who has tested positive for COVID-19 after they have left our managed isolation facilities. This afternoon I've been meeting with the Director General of Health, Dr Bloomfield, and a number of the other health officials to discuss the situation. Health's incident management team has been stood up and is now working on the case. The case is a 56-year-old woman who has recently been through isolation at the Pullman Hotel in Auckland after returning from Europe. She tested negative twice during her stay and was released following that. We don't yet know the origin or the strain of the infection. It's important not to speculate on that until we have that information.
The Dutch government has implemented a nightly curfew, the first such restriction since World War II, to curb coronavirus infections. The curfew is effective between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. and during these hours only people with pressing needs can leave their homes. Exceptions include medical emergencies, people who need to be outdoors to carry out essential jobs, and walking off pets on a leash. Violators can be fined over $100. The government has also imposed a ban on flights from South Africa, Britain, and all of South America, a move which is largely intended to target new infections variants of the disease.
I think they should be really cracking down more on things like people travelling to and from work and breaking the corona rules outside of the evening, because in the evening not many people go out. The only people who do go out are like me and my friends who all live on our own, and we're stuck inside doing nothing without being able to have social contact. So
thousands of people in France have taken to the streets in capital Paris to protest against looming job cuts. Demonstrators, including members of the Yellow Vest movement, labor unions, and political parties, blame the government for allowing companies to retrench people amid the pandemic. They also denounce low salaries and poor working conditions.
I am a postman. Postal workers earn 1,300 or 1,400 euros after 10 to 15 years. How do you manage to live in the Paris region? Can you imagine what it means to be without a salary? So these redundancy plans, we are reaching almost 1 million job losses. It's just something that has to be stopped. And we know that we cannot count on those who generate these redundancies, who generate this crisis just to maintain profits, to solve the situation.
The voluntary vaccination program against the COVID-19 pandemic in Serbia has received over 400,000 online applications in a few days, just its launch on Tuesday. The authorities have simplified the website layout for the vaccination application, only requesting information of name, address, identification number, and personal contact. Having received 1 million doses of the Chinese Sinopharm vaccine, Serbia has prioritized vaccinating the elderly people and those from high-risk groups. Health officials said on Friday that 40,000 vaccinations have been delivered nationwide, as the infection rate of coronavirus in Serbia has reached 30%. Sri Lanka's health minister, who has faced criticism for consuming and endorsing a herbal syrup against the virus, has tested positive for COVID-19. The health ministry confirmed that Pavitra Wainarvaki became the highest-ranking official to be infected with the virus. She and her immediate contacts have been asked to self-quarantine. In December, thousands of people gathered in long queues in the town of Kigali to obtain the syrup allegedly made by a sorcerer after Wainarvaki and several other government officials publicly consumed it. Doctors have said there is no scientific basis for the syrup as a remedy for the coronavirus. Sri Lanka has so far reported nearly 53,000 cases in 278 fatalities. And we come to the end of this news brief. You can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Thank you for watching.